My name is Anna Zusman, and two pieces that are in the show are Alchemist and Alice 2020. Both pieces are part of the series titled Surreal Meditations on Current Events. I started making art as a young kid, and I think for me, making art is a way of understanding the world. All my art, no matter how surreal it might seem, is actually firmly based in reality, in things that I experience. And when something strikes a chord, it means something that I see, something that's happening in the world. I want to understand what strikes a chord, and in the process of art making, it helps me understand it. My work is very labor intensive, so I started out as a traditional artist, and for most of my life I worked traditionally. The last 10-15 years I probably focused more on pen and ink and watercolor. But when I came to Southern Arkansas University, several classes I was teaching were teaching digital art, and I got an iPad, and I was sort of converted to working primarily digitally. But my artwork is very labor intensive, and I work with doing multiple little lines by hand. So even if they're done digitally, I still do each line by hand. And there is something very meditative, and the process kind of allows me to think things through. So the body of work started as a collaboration with poet Ray Briggs, where we started collaborating in the beginning of the pandemic as things were happening, and for us a collaboration was a way to kind of get away from it all. So we had random series of words where Ray would write a poem and I would create artwork. And while we were trying to get away from everything having to do with the pandemic, what we realized that artwork and poems both dealt with anxieties and issues, if in somewhat surreal way. So Ray and I published our body of work, small body of work, in Cordite Poetry Review, but then I continued creating artworks based on those themes. So the pieces in the show Alchemist, it's about loneliness. It's about being alone in one's studio, in one's workspace, and just trying to figure things out and maybe not understanding them and failing to understand. And Alice 2020 was sparked by a mushroom that I saw on my walk that was covered in slugs, which led me thinking about the mushroom and the caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, which somehow led to the piece that happened, which ultimately became, again, a meditation on the current situation.